All right, Madam Chair, we have 6 o'clock, but if you want to wait a few more minutes, you're welcome to.
I know we had some excused absences. Is everyone else here who we hadn't heard from yet?
Yes, actually.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll get the meeting started. Welcome to the March 9th, 2022 Citizens Advisory Committee meeting for the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. Let's see. So we will start with roll call.
Thank you. Committee member Brenneman. Cindy Brenneman. Jeff Arbor.
You won't be here tonight.
Thank you. Judy Gilo.
Present.
Mike Corcoran. Rosemarie Chora. Bill Marsh.
Here.
Seth Grainer.
Present.
Daniel Baum.
Mike's on mute.
Here.
Thank you. Dickie Fernandez. Sue Lester. And Chair Elodie Katz.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, so public comments. There are no members in the room. Anyone online? No. Any, Mr. Mosier? No. Okay, no public comments. All right, so we'll just jump in. We have a busy agenda tonight. So the first item is approving the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting minutes of January 12th. I had 2 small things, but I just wanted to open it up to the floor to see if anyone else had a comment or questions about it. Nope. Okay. I just, on page 6, it's a small thing, but we were talking about native plants, and it mentions that some of them can go dormant during the winter months. But for those plants, it's actually summer months that they go dormant, if that could be noted. And then in watching the video again, just to double check that, there's a sentence after that talks about discussion following regarding installing a demonstration garden. But we also talked quite a bit about establishing an outdoor community space, or the idea of establishing an outdoor community space and programming ideas. So those could also please be added. Perfect, thank you. Okay, if no one has any questions or comments about it, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay. Cindy was first. So Seth, can you second it?
If I can first it, I can second it, sure.
Thank you. Okay, we'll say Cindy was the first and Seth was the second. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the January 12th CAC meeting minutes with the revisions mentioned? Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, next item is B2, receive and file a waste composition study from Mike Bellier. Is he on the line?
Not see him on the line.
Well, if he's not here, I mean, I can go ahead and take the lead on this, Madam Chair. So
Okay.
maybe
Thank
if
you.
he comes in later, we can have him take over. But thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, community members. Good to see everyone in person. Glad we're slowly getting back to normal here. So this item, so as you know, SB 1383 is fully implemented. It's a new state law that went into effect on January 1st that is going to drastically change people's behavior and how we throw away our trash. Right now, these years, we are responsible to educating the public on the importance of separating your food scraps and your green waste or your organic materials away from the trash. And the way there's certain way of methods that we're going to be implementing to educate the public. One of those methods is the waste composition study, which excuse me, Mike Baye did. And if you can don't only do me a favor and pull up the waste composition study map on the attachment. So this is so what we'll be doing. We'll be doing these studies 2 times every quarter on certain specific parts of the neighborhood. There's really no signs of what particular neighborhoods we're going to pick. I think we're just going to pick randomly on certain areas and on certain collection days. So on this particular one was done on December 8th in the Newport Beach area, and you can see on the screen where we collected the materials, the organics, and then if you can pull up his waste characterization study, the next attachment. And so what he does, so what happens is, once they collect the materials, they transport it over to their transfer facility in Stanton, and if you scroll down a little bit farther, there you go. You see they just sprawl it out on the ground like that, and they start separating it. If you scroll down a little farther, you can see how they do it. They separate it, and they try to determine, okay, how much quantities of materials are in these carts. And as you scroll down even farther, the good news, actually, in this particular neighborhood, they did a very good job. They found well, there should have been, hopefully there would have been more, this is the mixed waste cart. So they found very limited food waste, but there were still food waste in the mixed waste carts. And if you scroll down a little bit further, they did find some green waste in the mixed waste cart. Very minimal, but again, if it wasn't for SB 1383, this is a pretty good job. But because now we have SB 1383, this would not be in compliance. And so if we see a sample size like this where we're finding carts are contaminated, then we would go in and blanket the entire neighborhood with educational materials. That educational material about the importance of diverting your organics from the mixed waste stream, and then the consequences. Of course, if you don't do that, the consequences could be the fines. We don't want to go down that road, but if after several attempts to educate the public, we don't see them changing their behaviors, then unfortunately that's going to be the last resort we have to do. So this is just an example of what one method we'll be doing to comply with SB 1383. And just Mike's not here to answer any questions, but I'll do the best I can if you have any questions on this study. So
Okay.
Just a reminder, if you could please speak into the microphone, just so. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
think I can.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, you have food waste and green waste and trash. And you do not want green waste with food waste?
we do want green waste with the food waste. So the green waste and the food waste will go in your organic cards, which is the green lid card,
Right,
right?
okay. It sounded like you were saying it was bad because the food waste was in there with the
The food waste
green
was
waste.
it was in the mixed waste cart, the trash cart. So that's not good. So it had to be put in the green waste cart. That's what I'm saying was bad. So
Was put in
green
the-
waste was in the mixed waste cart, the black cart, the mixed waste, where the trash is supposed to go. Green waste and food scraps are not supposed to be in there. It's supposed to be in the organics cart.
Yeah, but how do you plan to explain to people that you can't throw the food waste away on a plate or in a baggie?
Right. We plan on doing it several attempts. We plan on doing like PR campaigns where we'll have videos we can disseminate to the public, where they actually see how it's done, where you're supposed to take your organics. We'll use flyers. We will use tags. We will tag the carts, let them know, hey, you did a good job or you did a bad job, or here you can do better. Here's what, and list the materials what should go in those carts. Those are some ways we're doing. Hopefully, also we'd like some assistance from the committee as well. Your citizens advisory committee can tell your neighbors, here's the proper materials to go in your carts. That's also helpful too, is word of mouth.
How about diapers?
Diapers goes in the trash.
But there's some,
Yeah, they won't. The AD facility will not take diapers.
Dickie?
Scott, I wanted to go back a few months. I remember we talked about it and we say, hey, what other agencies doing? And I think it was you that mentioned that maybe in Portland, they have a pre-advanced system. Was it you that made that comment, or?
But I'm kind of familiar with Portland, yes.
And that apparently they're doing a great job. So I would say, okay, well, if they're doing a great job, maybe that can be looked at. I think something that also really helps is if the lid of the cart has a sticker or something clearly, visually, you don't need to put any language because it's graphic, right?
Yes.
What not to throw in there and what to throw in there. I think that really helps. I mean, I live in a community where we use a 3-yard container because it's communal. And our residents are always asking, hey, what can we put in the recycling and what can we not? And I've told the trash holder, if you guys were to put these stickers, I think it would go a long way.
Excellent suggestion. I think that's our plan is CNR will develop those stickers. Yes, yes.
Rosemary had a question, then I'll go back to Judy.
My question is, how many residents are in this Route T1?
Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
And I thought the map might have said that it was the Newport.
Yes, it's in Newport Beach, correct.
The route is representative of the entire district. I've seen in some systems where you might have a more affluent community, they might be more environmentally aware, and so they may be more apt to or more prone to comply with regulations, particularly environmental ones. So do you know if that is a very typical route?
Yeah, it's a good point. We have a pretty good idea, which we believe some neighborhoods we're gonna see a better participation ratio in some neighborhoods than others, especially like in the Spanish speaking communities. We think that's gonna be a big challenge for us. This study is not really supposed to encompass the entire district. It's just really supposed to be encompass that neighborhood, that particular neighborhood. So that's what it's supposed to represent. So it's not the entire neighborhood, it's just a small sample of that neighborhood. So based on what we're finding in that neighborhood, based on the study, then we can go and disseminate information in that neighborhood. Again, what's done here, and because what you saw here is pretty well is well, but maybe on the west side, part of the west side, where again there's these dominantly Spanish-speaking residents, we probably weren't going to see that high of a diversion. So, and that's where the language barrier comes in. We're gonna have to make sure we do it in Spanish and making sure we're constantly out there reminding people. And plus, there's a high turnover rate over there too. That's also a challenge. So every neighborhood has, I think, has a unique little challenges for us.
I have an add-on question really quick to that. Did you say, are we doing these kinds of characterization studies every month, every couple
Quarterly.
months?
Our goal is to
Okay.
get to 2 every quarter.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're just going to try to randomly spread it around?
Right.
the-
Every different day of the collection day, every part of the community will hit.
Okay, thank you. Judy?
Um, uh, uh, Regarding the stickers,
Yes.
when we first got our green waste truck, whatever, we got a strip. They came by later and put a strip on it of paper and had symbols. Well, the symbols were hard to really. I wondered about some of the symbols as to what was to go where and what they were. But now I don't have that problem because on my strip, every one of the round symbols has rotted away. And I have this yicky strip that is just fibered paper around empty space.
Yes, that's probably very common for those carts are probably going on 7 years old. So doesn't surprise me that they're worn out. So we'd have to put some new stickers on those type of carts, which community member Fernandez recommended. So.
And this jumps ahead to the future in the agenda, but talking about the 3-cart system, it'd be a good opportunity to put stickers on all 3 of the
Yes,
carts
absolutely.
to make it more consistent with the signage. So it's a good opportunity.
Right.
Rosemary?
I would also recommend not just stickers on the carts, but literature that can go in the home or the kitchen area, like magnets. So that way the person who's, say, cooking and they've got an avocado pit or an end of a lettuce bunch,
For lemon peel. Yeah.
lemon peels, then they can quickly say, oh, look, the coffee grounds, that does go in the organic carts. Because once you're outside in the actual cart, it's too late. No one's going to go back and try and dig out the coffee grounds.
Another great suggestion, and thank you for reminding me, we do have magnets. In fact, Nola, maybe we can give the magnets out to our community members tonight. So if you want one, we can give you one. And yes, we do have magnets. That's excellent, excellent comment and suggestion.
One online, Seth?
There was a comment about diapers and clearly what's in diapers. Does that also apply to doggy poop bags? Same thing?
Yes, dog poop bags goes into the trash unless they're compostable. If they're compostable bags, then they can go in the organic carts. That's the
With the
difference.
food?
Yes.
Oh, that changed.
Yeah. Well, they always said they can do it. So it's I wouldn't want I would go ahead and do it. So it's not a problem.
Because I remember, Scott, I think you said in one of the last meetings was that basically anything that had been alive, organic.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
and so I guess there clearly are always going to be exceptions, and things like diapers or doggy poop is those
Right.
exceptions.
Palm fronds.
Yes.
What was the other comment?
Not,
Palm fronds are not allowed in the organic bin.
Oh, and
Really?
why is that? Because they're too big?
I will leave that to Scott.
Yeah, I can't remember what CRNR mentioned. There's some of the AD facility just won't accept. I don't know, something to do with the fibers and the plants. They just won't take it. So yeah, prawn ponds, they won't accept it. So just put those in the trash.
Yeah,
They're that fast.
palm fronds, the fibers are incredibly strong and can be a problem. I just quickly will make a mention. When I was a kid, I once saw a shepherd with a bunch of goats, and I said, "Hey, can I have one of your goats?" And he took a palm frond and made a leash and gave me a goat. No kidding you. I had to walk another mile to get home, and I came home with a goat. My mom wasn't very happy, but
Neither was a goat.
they're incredibly tough, and so it makes the machinery work a lot harder. So I think that's a problem.
They're very hard to cut up
Yeah.
to fit into the bin in the first place. So, yeah. Okay, any other comments on this item?
So I was just going to say that I think for us, at least, I'm not saying they should go to the rest of the public, but what's going on with food waste, just so everybody understands, and we're doing this at Orange County Sanitation, is there is technology now, and there's been now for a while, but it's being implemented now, where you can take food waste and you generate energy out of it, right? So we're putting the food waste into these anaerobic chambers to create methane, and from that we create energy. So I would assume that this is also part of the principle behind this project. So Orange County Sanitation and others are going in that direction. And so the more we put it forth from the community, the more we're actually helping, climate change, saving energy. If anyone has put gas into their car in the last 3 days, they'll probably relate.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Okay, no other comments, and we'll move on to the next item. Consider recommending the Board of Directors adopt ordinance number placeholder revising Chapter 9.02 of the district's operations code to provide consistency with the district's refund policy. That is a mouthful.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. This item can be pulled, as stated in the staff report. The ordinance was currently being reviewed. Council reported back to me this week that he does not see any consistencies in the two codes. So his suggestion is just to leave it as is. So staff is pulling this item from the agenda. There's no action needed from.
Oh, so they're not going to change the ordinance?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Scott. So then we'll move on to item B4, the popular annual financial report for the year ending June 30th, 2021. This was on last month's
Yes, correct.
agenda, and we've had to postpone it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this was on our last meeting, but we came to at 7:30 and we couldn't present this to the committee. So we're presenting to you tonight. The PAFR is the Popular Annual Financial Report, and back up a little bit further. So every local government agency has to prepare what's called an ACFR, an Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. It used to be called a CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, but it's called ACFR. And so if you ever want to know what your local government spent, what they spent the year, what the actual spent, you go to the CAFR or the ACFR, not the budget. The budget is a planning document, right? The budget tells you, here's what we plan to spend. The ACFR actually tells you what that government agency spent that year. It also tells you information about their pension liability, how much they owe in pension liability. It's a lot of information. And because it's a lot of information, large agencies, much larger than us, have ACFRs that are hundreds and hundreds of pages, and they're very difficult to understand, especially if you're not an accountant. And so what the PAFR does, it takes all that information is in 100 pages and it condenses it into like a dozen pages, and it uses a lot of graphs to illustrate what your organization spent that year. It just makes it really simplifies what's the bottom line. What did we spend that year? And so surprisingly, we're one of the few public agencies that really complete PAFRs. I'm surprised other agencies don't complete PAFRs, because if you're really talking about transparency, this is one of the best documents to be transparent with the public, because it shows you how much your agency spent. So we've been doing this for I think about 7 years now. And every year we've been fortunate enough to receive the PAF Excellent Achievements Award from GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, for doing a PAFR. But again, this is available for your comments or suggestions. We do have it on our website. You can actually find all our PAFRs on our website. But very proud of this document. I wanted to commend my finance department, which is Caitlin Tran, Lou Tran, and Autumn Alvarez for spending so much time on this. They did a great job, and the results is great. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
I thought it was really well designed and easy to understand, so.
That's the whole purpose, is just to make it really understand what did we spend? What's the bottom line, right? Yes.
For the fact that you guys are exemplary in the transparency.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We try to be.
Seth or Daniel, do you have any comments? No? Okay. I did have a question on page 9 regarding the investment earnings.
Yes.
It was quite a bit of a significant change for your 2021. And I know there was the pandemic kind of drop, and then it did go back up. But I was just curious, like the $400,000 loss, how big a decline that was.
Well, we don't. That's significant for us because we don't really get we don't receive a lot of revenues from investments, though it is a revenue tool for us on investments. But losing $500,000 is significant. But again, I don't believe we're the only agency that took a loss in our investments, and we do invest very conservatively too.
Well, and I know I remember when we had a presentation about that. Gosh, it's been at least a year, maybe 2 now. But they had said that the funds were very conservative, and they
Very.
try not to. They're not quite like the
Extremely
stocks.
conservative.
And
Yes, very
that's why I was
conservative.
curious. It was such a large amount.
I know. Yeah, I think we all were, but I think it's all expected too. Yeah.
That presentation, Scott. All right, we'll jump into, where are we? Item 5, provide comments and recommendations regarding CMSD switching to a 3-cart solid waste collection program.
Yes. So hopefully this will create some discussion.
I think so.
Okay.
I have lots of comments.
All right.
So,
So we talked about SB 1383 and how we're required to separate our food waste and our green waste from our mixed waste system. And right now we have what we call the mixed waste system, which every resident is eligible to get 4 carts. They have what's called 2 mixed waste carts, which they put their recyclables and their trash in. And then you have 2 organic carts, which is for their green waste and their organics. And under excuse me, under SB 1383, it does allow the 2-cart mixed waste system. However, you have to take your materials to what's classified as a high diversion facility. And I remember, I think the last time we met with the committee, there was a community member who says, well, why don't we just take it to another facility that has a high diversion facility, which was a great suggestion. Unfortunately, there aren't any at this point, because we did reach out to Cal Recycle and we said, well, what criteria are you using to determine what's a high diversion facility? And at this point, they really don't know. They said they want to at least obtain at least a year's worth of data to determine what is a high diverse facility. And so that won't be till 2023. And then Cal Recycle was at least honest enough to inform us that, look, they don't know of any facilities that are going to be converted to high diversion facility because it's so costly, so enormous costly. And that's why CNR is not doing it. CNR is not converting their material recovery facility into a high diversion facility. In fact, we're their only client and probably the only jurisdictions in Orange County that has the mixed waste system, continues to have the mixed waste system. So it looks like it's inevitable we have to go to a 3-cart system. So we're currently in negotiations with CRNR right now, and I'm hoping to bring, when we're done with those negotiations, bring that back to the CEC to let you know here's what we'd agreed to before we go to the board. But in the meantime, what I'm kind of looking for some directions from the CECs, because there's one area where I wouldn't say it's an impasse, but we're still in a discussion, and that is the organic carts. So for logistics purposes, like I mentioned, we have 4 carts right now. The easy way right now, what CNR is saying, and what we agree, is that they're going to take away one of those mixed waste carts and replace it with a 90-gallon blue cart. And that blue cart would be for all the recyclables. And then that mixed waste cart would be called your black cart, which we call our trash cart. Simple, right? And now the other, what do we do with the organics? Staff suggests, well, we believe most people have 2-cart systems. And this is the issue that we're trying to work out with, because we're not too confident in CNR's inventory on the organic carts, because we believe most residents have 2-cart systems. And if that's the case, then our position is just leave it as is, right? Leave it as 2 carts. That way you don't have to put a new cart in. You don't have to take 1 cart away. Just leave it as is, right? They believe most residents have 1 cart. And if there's a 2-cart system, 2 carts for organic, it's going to increase their traveling and increase their loads, because now they're going to be collecting more waste, green waste. That means they have to take more trips to the AD facility, more trips back. And we're saying, well, you're already doing it. Well, how's that different? But there was, and a couple community members asked some really good questions. One community member asked, well, how many organic carts do we have right now out there, and how many have a second cart? Right now, we know, we believe there's 21,118 organic carts out in the community. Based on the data that we have right now, anywhere between 5 to 10% of those have 2 carts. So approximately up to 2,100 homes have 2 carts, up to 10%, right? But we think that number might be higher. And in fact, I like to engage with the community members, how many organic carts you have, because when we do our cart-to-cart outreach program, we're seeing most residents have 2 carts. And in fact, we're going to go out in the community again this Friday, and we're going to start, logging down addresses to have 2 carts, and then cross-reference that with our list to see how accurate their inventory is. So so that's one thing we need to work out is what's the current inventory. Another good question the community member asked was how much green waste is being collected per household on a weekly basis. And based on the current fiscal year, I took the high number, 1 month, excuse me, we collected 822 tons of green waste. And so when we worked the numbers down to tonnage, the high end came about 19.46 pounds of organics are being collected at each household, which doesn't seem like a lot. And so that number is telling us if that's what we did right, that's number telling maybe most residents do have 1 carts. So again, it's something we're still trying to confirm. What is the most current inventory? And again, I like to pose to the CAC, how many organic carts do you have? Does anyone know? Do you have 1 or 2? 2? 1?
None. I live in a condominium.
Okay, none.
CRNR's my carrier.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They won't give us any more cards.
Okay.
When I look around my neighborhood, most houses have 0 or 1 organic carts. I don't ever see anybody with 2.
I don't either.
Okay, okay, 2. You have 2 people too. Okay.
So we have none. We are communal.
Okay.
We just don't have room for additional 3-yard containers. So I've been actually in contact with Mike Vallier to figure out, is there a variance, or do we have to make room for an additional cart? So we don't have the individual carts. But I would also say that this law just came into effect January 1st, right, Scott?
Yes.
So like anything starting, people are getting going. I bet you that a year from now, I think you're going to find a lot more participation on a per household basis. Instead of pounds, you might have 30, 40, 50 pounds, right?
That is very true. That's very true. Especially when they start learning you can get fined, right? They're going to change. It's going to change their
Exactly.
behavior real
Oh, yeah.
quick, right? So that's a very excellent point. It could be and that's what we hope for, that number would start.
Another thing I'll
increasing.
say is when we are in our kitchens cooking and so on, most households have 1 trash bin, under the sink or somewhere, right?
Mhm.
They don't have 3 trash bins in the kitchen. The three trash bins are in the garage. So we all throw everything into that one that's in the kitchen. We're not gonna go then picking food out of that one
Yeah.
to divide it. So I spent some time in Germany, this was many years ago, and I noticed that people there had their smaller bins, but they had in the kitchen, and I think that should be maybe considered for educational purposes to make participation more successful.
We do have, in fact, we can give those out to the community if you want. We do have little buckets that what we encourage residents to do is, you keep that in your kitchen. You can line it with newspaper or line it with a compostable bag so it doesn't stink or all of that. But that's when you're done eating, or let's say if you're just, like when I'm prepping meals and I have, scraps leftovers, I'll just put it in the bucket. Or if I have any leftovers, I just put it in the bucket. And then whenever it's done, I just wrap up the bag and walk it out and take it in the trash can or take it in the organics. So we have a lot of those buckets, and that's one thing we're encouraging our residents to take advantage of. So that's a good program. But anyway, so going back to some suggestions, we're kind of looking for some direction from this committee. So I put several options we're looking at. Is one is to keep the 2 65-gallon organic program, because technically legally, or not legally, but technically under our current program, residents can get up to 2 organic carts at no charge. That's our current program. That's the way it is right now. So that's one option, just keep it as is, status quo. The second option is to just have one 65-gallon organic tank. So residents will no longer have that 2 cart. If they have a second cart, there will be an additional cost to that. The third option is to remove both the 65-gallon carts and replace it with one 90-gallon cart, which is very common in other communities. I know in my community in Orange, we have a 3-cart system and they're all 90-gallon carts. So those are 3 options. There's pros and cons to each of them. So I think there's really no right or wrong answer, but I guess it's really what do you think being the community, what do you think community, the CAC, what the CAC, the community believes the community would support. So open up for discussion.
I just want to clarify one thing you said. I thought when I was reading the report that both of the mixed waste containers would be taken away and there'd be a new 90
No.
landfill and a new 90 recycling.
Only one mixed waste cart will be taken away.
Okay.
So the one mixed waste cart that you currently have will be what we call your black cart. That's where you put your trash cart. The ones we taken away will be replaced with a blue cart. And
Okay.
that's where your recyclables, like your glass, your cardboard, your paper, your aluminum goes in that. So we're going from a mixed waste system to a source separated system.
Okay, so the people that already have a grandfathered in 90-gallon mixed waste cart could in theory keep that as their landfill.
They could keep that. In fact, and that's a good thing for bringing that up. In according to this new program, our new program, if you still have that one 65-gallon black cart, I'm going to call it black cart, you can switch it out for a 90-gallon cart if you want to.
Okay, because I think the perception, I know people are very upset that the 90 gallons aren't around anymore. Some
Yes,
people are.
so,
And
right.
so
So
I
that's
think,
what we negotiated.
that's why I assumed, I just incorrectly possibly, but assumed you were going to do a 90-gallon recycling and a 90-gallon landfill so that there's actually overall more space.
Yes.
than-
So again, the 65 gallons black cart will remain, but if people want that 90-gallon, options available at no cost to them.
Okay.
So they'll be there. It'll be available.
Yeah, I have the green food waste cart. It's small, and I have 2 large carts. One of them even looks like it has a white top because the sun has bleached it. Very often, I don't fill my garbage because I'm trying to eat what we have, and there isn't much garbage. And I've taken to not putting it out at all because it would be just a waste of their time to pick up an empty cart and just play the game. I wonder if you get credit for that. But anyway, then I have mixed waste. At certain times of the year, I'm doing a lot of yard work. And I get lots of branches, some big, some small. And I put the little twigs in the green waste cart, and I put anything larger in one of the big carts. And sometimes I have to put small stuff in the big carts. Are you gonna get after me for that? Because it should be in the green. Part,
If it's
but my
not
green
source
property
separated, if
full.
it's not source separated, yes, you technically you're in violation, so it has to be source separated.
Where do I put all of that material after I cut it? If I spend a Saturday doing great yard work, I'll have more than can fill in the one green cart.
Is it branches, trees? What is it? Because what you could do, if you put it in a bag, like a trash bag, you could set it out as one of your large item collections. So every year you get up to 30 items that can be collected from your home.
They're not that big.
Right, so say you got, so let's say you fill up your green cart and you got enough materials to fill up a couple of bags. Well, then you just call CNR and they'll do a large item collection.
They'll do it on the same day they pick
Yeah,
up the trash.
and they'll pick it up.
Get it all done at once.
But
Right.
typically you have to schedule that several weeks in advance. They don't come as soon as you call them. You have to wait a
Right.
couple of weeks.
What do I put the waste in? While,
You put it in a bag, in a trash bag, like a large, black bag, large black bag, gardening bag.
I don't have any large black bags.
Yeah, you pick them up at the store, the Albertsons or Vons.
Depot store, yeah, the grocery.
That way you don't have to get rid of the bag in the end. It's a paper bag, so you can just stuff it with
Yeah.
leaves and then the whole thing can go in the cart the following week.
Yeah, there.
Or I just leave mine sit there and I hope it doesn't get windy because then my son has to pick it up again.
Yeah, when my carts fall out and I can't put any stuff, I'll just leave it to the side and just wait till my cart's empty, put it back in, wait for next week. You know, it's just the way it is. So,
Done that.
yes, I think we've both done that. Yes.
Rosemary, you had a comment?
I did. I think that what's really happening here is you're getting organic material and it's coming out of the mixed waste cart and it's going to go into its own cart along with those clippings and leaves and I think Judy mentioned that there are certain times of the year where you get more of that outdoor clippings, the leaves are falling, grass is growing. So I think that it might be valuable to have the 2 organic carts, partly because I can leave my lawn clippings, actually I back into the lawn, but I can leave that pile of leaves in my backyard. But sometimes if I have full green with a lot of food scrap material, I think it, as a consumer, as a resident, it might be more objectionable.
Oh,
if I
yeah.
have my food waste
I don't care.
backing
This
up.
calls all the steps.
Ooh, somebody's mic isn't muted, and it's not me.
Oh, Mike. Hey, I'm sorry, Mike, we've already went through your, unless we can come back, if you want to have questions for Mike via, he's on.
I don't think we.
Okay, it's up to you. So, but, okay, I'm sorry.
So I would recommend leaving the 2 organic carts if they're there. My thoughts also are not to financially incentivize increased landfill carts. So really, I think the base should be a smaller cart, not the 90-gallon, because we're actually taking material out of the mixed waste cart. So that need for that volume is decreasing because it's going in the organic cart. So the quantity of landfill material that I'm sending out of my house is going to be smaller. And if you give me a free 90-gallon cart, I could see us like, hey, it's just all free stuff and it's all going to the landfill. And I don't have to think about the landfill, the environment, or the regulations that the sanitary district has to comply with. So I'm actually in favor of a smaller cart, because when I know that I have a small cart, I think twice. And I do look at my mixed cart now, like, wow, look at all this plastic. Where is it coming from? Why does Trader Joe's wrap up their cucumbers? I don't know. So really financially not allowing me to just live like it's 1985, I think was a very luxe kind of year, but to really make me think about the environment.
It's a good point because it's one best way to change people's behaviors is give them less option to throw something away, right? If you only got a 65-gallon cart, like I said, you got, okay, what's my option now? I got to learn to change my behavior to generate less trash and recycle more. And we're not going to go on and really promote the 90-gallon cart. It's just there in case someone just maybe they have a large family and they need it. They need that 90-gallon cart. Okay, here's a 90 gallon. I mean, they have like 6 members in their household or something. And here's another cart for you, or a larger cart.
Well, but if you look at services, say on the, say potable drinking water side or the
Yeah.
wastewater side, if I'm consuming more drinking water, I have a higher bill
Yeah.
than maybe the senior citizen who lives alone and is very wise about how they use their water. So when we look at paying for services, we should pay for our services. So if I'm generating a lot of waste because I do have, say, 15 people in my household, then I should pay for that service. That's
Yeah, no, you're absolutely, I'm 100% in agreement is that solid waste should be converted just like any other kind of utility. The more trash you throw away, the more it's going to cost you. The problem is that, and I've been going round and round with CRNR on this. Well, how do you determine, how much waste everyone's throwing away? And the only way you can do is you got to put like a little scales on the carts, and that's really difficult to do. I think it's really hard, and so, but totally agree that I wish we would go one day to that type of disposal where it's based on your volume of how much you throw away.
my last comment. I believe that recommendation that I made, I think was option 2. Is that correct?
No, I think your option.
One blue, one black, and
Keep I think the option 1, so they allow us to keep their 2 65-gallon cars at no additional cost.
okay.
It's option 1. Yes.
Thank you.
I agree with the comment that if the mixed waste trash cans are made bigger, that's just incentivizing people to use it more. So I agree that having the recycle cart as well as having the organic cart or more of those, because that's where we're trying to encourage people to use, and fewer and smaller of the mixed waste is the right way to go.
Thank you.
I do have a question on that. I mean, I have several people in our neighborhood that have maybe 3 mixed waste, the black cart. So one gets taken away. If they just keep putting out 2 that they have left,
Well, they're
does
going to be
R&R pick them
they're-
up?
okay. So
How-
if they have 3 mixed waste carts, they should be being charged on that 3rd
In
cart.
theory, yes. I don't know how
Yes.
many
Yeah. So
households have that arrangement. And then, so they're, in that case, they are paying for the extra
yes,
waste.
so they are paying for it. So if they have those three mixed waste carts and one's taken away and put the recyclables, they'll still have those. They'll still be paying that extra fee for that.
Okay,
second
so there
cart.
is the option if,
Yes.
if there is someone that wants to go beyond whatever threshold we set, they do pay extra.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And then I had a question with the new contract. I could have sworn I recalled on the existing one that the organic waste is being used in addition to the compost that's being created at the AD facility, there were also fueling CR&R's fleet with
Yes.
natural gas.
Yes.
Will that still be the case?
Yes. Yes.
Is there any sort of benefit? I mean, obviously with the hope of increasing the organic waste, I know there was concern about if we keep the 2 carts that the loads will be more. Is there any sort of benefit if we do increase our organic waste because we are giving them more fuel in a sense,
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. You would think, if they're using RNG, which is the cleanest burning fuel in you can use, it shouldn't be detrimental to the environment if they're going back and forth. I think they're looking, they'll say on labor's cost maybe, or cost on wear and tear on streets. Those some of the issues they're looking into. But their arguments right now is we're not buying it. You know, if they're already doing it right now, what's the difference? So.
Still a little confused about the different carts, but I'm sure it will get cleared up. So you say that after 2 carts, I'm just curious how something like this happens. This is between 2 houses? So you're telling me that anything over 4 carts, they're getting charged for those
Yes.
extra carts? How
Yes.
do you, what is your checks
turn
and
that around.
balances on that?
Excuse me?
It's not on your street, is it?
I'm not saying the address yet. It's close. So what are your checks and balances? How do you know that they're, I mean, how do you tell if somebody has too many carts? How do you even keep track of them? How do you know
Well,
what
see,
households
yeah,
have?
good question. CNR is supposed to be keeping that inventory. We do get a share of that revenues of the third cart. So they do give us a check. So we know that they are charging. They bill the residents directly. So it's not on the assessment roll. So it's billed directly by CNR. So they keep the inventory of all those third carts. Now, I will admit though, again, we don't know if their third cart inventory is very accurate. And so that's something they recognize they need to clean up. So it's possible all those carts might not be in charge, but they should be.
And so I have 2 organic carts and I have 2 regular carts.
Okay.
And I would like to be able to keep 2 regular carts and turn in one of the organics for the larger and keep the smaller one. 'Cause I do a lot of gardening. So how do you work that out? How does that?
Well, you won't be able to keep two trash carts anymore. You'll have one trash cart, one recycling. And then that leaves you with 2 organic carts. So you're saying you don't need the 2 organic carts?
Yeah, I do,
Did you
but
can-
I'd rather have a larger one and a smaller one. Can you do that or no?
Well,
You have to turn in the cart. See, it's it's confusing as to what you can.
yeah, so of the 4 cart, okay, so again, you're ready. So you have 4 carts. We're gonna take one of your trash carts and we're gonna replace that with a recycling cart. So now you have the 2 organic carts. And you're saying you want to replace those 2
Oh,
organic carts?
that would be, if I could do that, that would be fine.
You want to replace the 2 organic
That,
carts?
what you
You're
just said
good.
is
You're
fine.
good on the organic
Now I
carts.
understand it.
Okay. Oh, okay. You understand now?
That makes sense. So
Okay.
I grew up in San Francisco and we recycled when I was a little kid up
Yes,
there.
yeah.
And to your point, Dickie, the education has to start, if it's not easy in the kitchen, it's not going to get outside.
Right.
So there has to be the education of separating it right away. Smaller trash in your kitchen, separate out the 3, my bottles and cans and plastic recycles don't even go into my regular trash. They go into a separate bag and I, support the schools with that stuff. So there's ways that you can educate people how to do that. And it can be really simple. Small apartments, you were still able to do it.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
it has
Yes.
to start there.
Thank you. Definitely. Thank you. Good comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm being left out of the organic carts business because I only have one of those and it's small. But doesn't bother me until I'm really working on my yard. And then I can't leave a big pile somewhere. And so I kind of give up and put some in the big 90.
Well, it sounds like you need a second organic cart, and then you could just leave that. You just use the one organic you need on a daily basis, and then that one will be just stored somewhere in your house. And when it's time to do your
Okay.
yard work, you'd use that second cart. And the way the system works right now, that second cart to you is at no additional charge.
Yeah.
Room
good.
for a second cart?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have Nabila contact you. We can get another cart scheduled out
Okay.
to you.
But I still have these 2 big carts.
There are 90-gallon blue carts, right?
For the blue carts, yes, the blue carts are 90 gallons. Yes, the blue carts. Yes, the blue carts will be 90 gallons.
Okay.
We can get you smaller carts if you want to. I know they have
Oh, I
35
like the
gallon.
big carts.
Okay.
Well, I'm not throwing much in.
We could talk
green
more.
Way
more
would
about
be good.
Sure.
It seems like, well, my family has crunched down and hers sounds like it's really large. And in a sense, she should be entitled to more garbage carts than I get. Just because maybe they have eat more than 2 people. You don't do any counting on whether or not a cart is out during the week that the collection comes on, or isn't, or how many they have? Oh.
I'm sorry.
Question about the carts that are going to be picked up and taken away.
Yes.
Are they just going into a landfill? Are they recyclable? It just like
They'll
tens
probably,
of thousands of
no, I
carts,
think
like-
they'll keep them as inventory.
Okay.
I think they'll keep as inventory
Okay,
if
they
they're,
will.
if they're savable,
operable,
if they're
yeah. So I was gonna say,
salvageable. I
if,
think-
if we did
yeah.
go to the 90-gallon organics,
Yeah, that'd be
a lot of
horrible.
those carts are still so usable. It
Yes,
seems
I-
like such a waste.
Yeah, I think they'll keep them.
I love having the 2 carts. If we keep it, I think we should promote the hell out of it. I think
Yeah.
it's so great. And I usually only use one, but I love having the second one when we do have a lot of leaves and lots of things to clean up. But my only thought was for people who might be more limited on space, would the 90-gallon maybe be more, give them more flexibility if they aren't able to store a 4th container? Would having a 90-gallon organics bin, that was the only thing I wanted to raise, but I suppose difficult to know. I guess I'd be curious if the members, do you feel like you're crunched on space for your containers? Do you feel like you have a lot of space? Oh, no.
Say
Per-
that another thought also, I mean, I would imagine single-family residents would have, that side area where they. keep
Right,
their cans.
exactly.
So there's probably space, but then imagine a very full 90-gallon cart. It gets
It's
harder
heavy.
to maneuver. And so like if I haven't gone to the gym for a while, it's kind of hard to get the carts out.
True.
And then it could be difficult for some seniors also. So I would think that 2 carts might be a little more manageable overall.
Yeah, I also was gonna say, a lot of the new construction I see in Costa Mesa is very tight, right? You see some of these 3-story condos and so on, and they usually will have a tandem garage. And those garages are really tight. And I think you put a 90-gallon in there, and I think those people might have a bigger challenge in getting the car in. Is it possible to have both options?
Well, that's a good, you make a good point. That's what we've been seeing in the last couple of years, all these infill developments where they put these big structures on the small piece of property, right? Because they want to get, more, I guess, more,
Density.
square footage, right? But before they have to come to us, and we have to give the city planning department a will serve letter saying, yes, there is proper space for a cart. So really they before it goes to the planning commission and gets approved, we say, yes, there's space for a cart. Yes. Mark.
Yeah, let me add to that. I've reviewed a few of those condo complexes. It's usually smaller, like 2, 3, 4. And so we were talking about spacing. Sorry, we were reviewing smaller condo complexes, Scott, and I brought that up, that they needed extra space for the carts because we were potentially going to a different cart system. And someone had said, well, they could put the carts in the garage. Well, the city planning people answered and said, that's against code. So they're not allowed to store trash cans or recycle cans or any cans in the garage, or at least they shouldn't be planning the space. That's not the space where you should be planning to store it, because I guess the developer was thinking they could store them in the garages. But the city says, no, they have to store the cans outside. So it's kind of an interesting.
Outside out of public view.
Yeah, so that's something that we might want to consider is the city's telling the developers they can't store cans inside the garage.
Seth, it seemed like you might have had a comment. Did you?
I did. I think that coming back to the discussion about, big carts and little carts, I would hope that would be up to the individual people to decide. I mean, if they wanted 2 large carts or they wanted 1 large and 1 small. I think as Scott said, if you've got a situation where, you're going to typically have a small amount of organic waste, but occasionally when you need more surge capacity, you would need a second cart and you could have a bigger cart for that rare occasions when you needed it. And that would just simply sit in the area not being used. That would, I think, provide flexibility to many people. I know I'm in that situation where we put out our organic cart. In fact, we are using that little bucket by our kitchen sink, and it actually works very well. We've trained ourselves to use it. It was actually easier than I thought it was going to be because it's right front and center. And unfortunately, those biodegradable bags biodegrade very quickly. So you have to throw that out, within 3 or 4 days, or else it's a big mess in that bucket. But you put that in the trash can, and you put another one of those in the trash can, and then that trash can isn't very full. And so we found that we just don't even put that trash can out very often. It does get to smell pretty bad, but we just stay away from it. But there are many times in the fall or the summer where we're doing a lot of yard work, and we do overly fill that green cart. And so the suggestion of having, maybe a small organics cart and maybe a larger organics cart for that surge time, together with having a recyclable cart as well as a mixed waste, I think that makes sense for most people. I know for me, like many of my neighbors, we get a lot of packages from Amazon, and so we generate a lot of cardboard. And breaking those things down and putting them into a recyclable trash can is great exercise. And we often don't have enough room for it all. And hopefully it's not a big windy day, or else they go flying around as well too. But I think that the suggestion of having people being able to have big carts and small carts to tailor to what their particular needs are, I think is appropriate. And having fewer of the mixed use carts is the right thing, because that again incentivizes people to not use it, to be using their green carts or be using their recyclable carts, because that's where we want the emphasis to be. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
Also, thank you. All right, and if I just want to make sure I understand, so you're proposing the baseline to be a single 65 gallon with the option to get a second 90 gallon.
Yeah, I mean, whatever those sizes happen to be, I mean, I think there's even a smaller size, but I think that there could be a baseline of saying, yeah, you can have, two organic carts. And if you want them to be different sizes for whatever works for you, then that should be available to them. Whether that's a 30 gallon and a 60 or a 30 and a 90, whatever happens to work for their particular needs, because they may not have space, they may have a lot more trees, they may have a lot more different needs than others, but having the option to have different sizes, I think is important.
That's a great point. Are we still going to offer the 35?
So what from what I'm hearing, and that's what the committee wants me to bring back to CNR, we can do that, is recommend the 2 carts, still have the two organic carts, but offer different sizes in those two carts, organic carts, based on the
Does
resident's
that
preference.
match what we'll be offering for landfill and recycling as well? Will
No,
we still
just
be
for
offering
organic, just for organic.
But will we be offering a 35? Has that been worked out with CRNR?
No. I mean, for a 35 for like a
For landfill.
for landfill. I believe it is available, but I'll have to double check, so.
I think that's a great suggestion. Having the 2 options of the various sizes. That seems like
Keep the
that would-
quantity too and give the option of the
Yeah.
size.
Yes,
Okay.
that's true.
I think that to me,
Okay, good.
We want participation,
Yeah.
so by giving them choices, I think that they're gonna feel appreciated.
Okay.
I got that
You
direction.
need a formal motion?
No, I think,
Okay.
do you have or have you thought of a method of how you're going to communicate
yes.
to each homeowner on
Oh.
what they want or?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
First of all, I come with a term.
That I think
Yeah,
that's
then-
going to be another.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
plan B. Yeah,
That's each guy,
Yeah.
but he's either got one or give up.
right.
one.
All right, thank you. I got my direction. Thank you very much. Good discussion.
Oh, it's only 7. Okay. Item 6, determine the feasibility and provide recommendation regarding a biomass conversion project. But
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is just an FYI, because if you recall on your work plan, this item was scheduled to be presented to you tonight, but because we're still in negotiations with CRNR, we just haven't been able to to research this option and present our findings and suggestions to the committee. So our recommendation is to continue this item for the work plan for 22-23.
All right, that brings us to closing items. I just wanted to mention that this is the last CAC meeting for those members whose term expires this year. So I'd like to thank committee members Marsh and Fernandez and Tora and Grainer and Baum, and Mike isn't here, but Corcoran. You know, our committee has benefited from having each of you serve, and I really hope you'll consider reapplying and join us for another 2 years. I believe the deadline is April 15th. And the instructions there's details online, but really, I think the committee's been stronger for having all of you. So I hope you'll consider joining us or applying for another term. And then I was also thinking it's been 2 years about since the pandemic started, and I just wanted to thank staff for throwing together Zoom meetings and hybrid meetings and all the wonderful work you've done to keep us going so that we could still meet. And thank you for all your hard work. So.
Our pleasure. It's been our pleasure.
And happy birthday, Scott. Try to end the meeting early.
But if anyone wants, if we get the magnets for us, we got some magnets for you. So on our organics program. So.
Do any other members have any comments? Oh, Cindy.
I want to say that this is the end of my term, and I really have enjoyed this. I've learned a lot. I think that I've learned a lot about the sanitary district and how it operates. And I think the use of a advisory committee is a really, really, really good idea. It allows this organization an opportunity to kind of test things out, give input from the public, also us being able to share things with the public. I think it's an excellent way to run an organization like this. And Scott and Nailani and those we've met as part of the sanitary district, you guys do a great job. And I've told that to many people that, and Mark too. You guys do a really good job, and I've shared that with many people. I think that many people don't have a really good idea of what the sanitary district does and the fact that it's not part of the city. And I think that I think part of the goal of this CAC is to have people from different parts of the city represented. I didn't realize that when I first joined, but I think that's a really good idea too. So I want to say thank you. I've learned a lot. I wish it hadn't been in a pandemic time. I think I would have been able to participate even more. But I really do appreciate my opportunity here. And so I wanted to thank all of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Cindy, you had a comment?
A lot of us Alzheimer's from the city probably for Gladys or Bacchus, but I don't know how many of you know that she passed away February 24th. She was 103 years old. She was very, very involved with so many different things in the community and Historical Society and Freedom Committee and you name it, Santa Ana Army Air Base. And I was just wondering if we could close the meeting, adjourn the meeting in her honor tonight.
All right. Well, that's it. I guess with that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mike,
Oh,
Mike Baez, sorry, we already went through your items. Sorry, you had to stick through this. So.
No, I'm sorry. I cut it close, had a traffic mishap, and I'm sorry I missed it, but it was a fascinating conversation I overheard. So,
Okay. Very good. Well, thanks, Mike.
all right.
Take care. Good night.
Don't forget